I read an article the other day highlighting the 10 worst things about living here in Boise and why Idaho is not a good state to retire in. Now, I disagreed with 9 out of those 10 points, but one of those points I did wholeheartedly concur with. So in this video, I want to dispel some myths about living here in Boise, and then I'll talk about the point that I did agree with. And I think you'll be surprised to hear me talk about this. Number 1 on their list of the 10 worst things about living here in Idaho was property taxes. Now, number 3 on their list was the price of groceries, which is taxed here in Idaho, and also gasoline, which, as you know, also includes lots of other taxes. So I'll address all 3 of those under the same heading of taxes. Now, I just did an entire video on property taxes. You can check it out right here if you like. But after researching the issue, I simply don't agree. As compared with the rest of the United States, Ada County is right down the middle when it comes to property taxes. And when you take the state property taxes as a whole, Idaho is ranked number 35, meaning there's only 15 other states that have lower property taxes than Idaho. Number 3 on their list was the price of groceries. Now, to be honest, this came as somewhat of a surprise to me because I've never thought that groceries were unusually expensive here in Idaho. So I did a bit of research to try and get some more data on the issue, and I found a number of studies that actually gave the consumer price index for food and groceries here in Idaho. According to one study, this is the Missouri Economics Research Center, the food and grocery index here in Idaho is 92.1. Now, 100 is the national average. So according to this study, Idaho is 8 points below the national average. Another study I found put Boise in particular at 93.8, and the highest that I could find in all these studies put us in Idaho at 96. So no matter what study you look at, or the studies that I found, we are below the national average when it comes to the food and grocery prices here in Idaho. Number 4 on their list was gas prices. Now, to be clear, gas usually is more expensive here in Idaho. We're usually about 50 cents more than the national average. Right now, the national average is $3.41 per gallon. In Idaho, the average is $3.69 per gallon. Now, sure, I'd love to pay less in gas, but let me just put that into perspective. I ran some numbers to see how much less I would be paying in gas if I lived in the state that has the cheapest gas prices. And according to how much I drive now, I pay about $600 per year more in Idaho than I would be paying if I lived in the state that has the cheapest gas prices, which right now is Oklahoma. So that works out to be about $50 more per month. And no offense to those who live in Oklahoma, but I would totally pay $50 a month just to live here in Idaho. I'm not a huge fan of tornadoes and flat fields. Surprisingly, the author said that guns is one of the worst things about living here in Idaho. Now, Idahoans love guns. We have very loose open carry laws here. You'll sometimes see Idahoans carrying guns here. But to me, that's not a bad thing. That's one of the reasons why I actually like living here. I like owning guns. It's our Second Amendment right. And that is one of the main reasons why many people are moving to Idaho. People who are moving here, particularly from the 3 western states, want to get away from the federal government and from these heavy-handed state governments who are trying to take away your rights, including your right to have a weapon. So in Idaho, we have less red tape. We want the government to stay out of your life, and we believe in the Second Amendment. All of those things are not negatives, but are positive and are things that I like about living here in Idaho. And then finally, the author of the article said that protests are one of the worst things about living here in Idaho. Idahoans love to protest. They love to show their support for or against different issues. But to me, again, that's a good thing. This is one of the ways that we're able to get our voice out. Over the past year, Idahoans have protested things like mandatory vaccine mandates for hospital workers, issues relating to abortions, and they should be allowed to on the condition that it's done peacefully. Now, here's where the distinction comes to our neighborly states. In Idaho, we protest peacefully. That is not the case in Washington or in Oregon. Just go to Portland for the past year or to Seattle, and you'll see there's a vast difference between the way that we protest here in Idaho and the way that other people protest in cities like Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, and throughout the rest of the country. Interestingly, the author didn't mention the issue of crime, traffic or overall friendliness of people here. And rightly so. Yes, we have traffic here. Yes, we have crime. And yes, some people are unfriendly. But overall, I think we're doing pretty good when it comes to these issues. Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to make it clear because I probably don't do this enough. But if you are thinking of moving to Boise or want to just chat about what life is like here, reach out to me. I get totally tickled when people say, hey, I found you on YouTube and want to just brainstorm about whether or not a move is right for me. So what is the worst thing about living here in Boise? I think that it is the house prices. Now, I know you're probably surprised to hear a realtor say that. Well, if you know anything about me or you've seen some of my videos, my goal really is to just give you the most reliable information so that you can make an accurate decision as to whether or not Boise, Idaho is the place for you. And if I'm honest, the house prices over the past year have really risen at such a rate that it is kind of sad for first-time home buyers. Right now, the median price here in the Treasure Valley is $533,000. Last year, so October of 2020, the median was $406,684. So that's a 30% increase in 1 year. And this drastic price increase over the past several years has been tough on the locals. In 2013, the median price for homes here in Ada County was $200,000. It took 5 years for the median to reach $300,000, and then it took 2 years for it to go up to $400,000, and then it took 9 months for it to go from $400,000 to $500,000. So that's a big price jump, and as you probably suspect, the wages here in Boise haven't kept up with that increase in home prices. Now, who does that affect the most? The first-time home buyers. But who do we blame for this increase in prices? Well, if you look at some of the comments on some of my past videos, we're the ones to blame, the realtors. We are the ones who are increasing the prices. We're greedy. We're just trying to get a large commission, so we are the ones to blame. Now, I think it is quite funny that they don't say that when the market is going down. When the market softens, suddenly the realtors aren't greedy anymore. Others say that it's the sellers who are to blame. They're the ones that are greedy. They're just trying to sell their homes for the most amount of money. They're the reason why prices are rising so rapidly here in the Treasure Valley. I think that's also a silly answer because why do some houses sit on the market for 180 days? Because their house is listed too high. The sellers aren't the ones to blame for these drastic increases in prices that we've seen, and neither are the realtors. The truth is that the steep rise in prices over the past several years has come about as a result of a variety of factors. Number one, all of last year we saw record low interest rates. Some of my clients were getting loans at 2.75% on a 30-year fixed loan. So these low interest rates encouraged more buyers to enter into the market. In addition to that, we also saw historically low inventory. Now this is something we saw across the nation, but in particular here in Boise. 6-7 months ago, we saw 40-45% less inventory than we saw the year before. And the year before, we were at about 40 to 45% less than the year prior to that. So we had incredibly low inventory and an increased number of buyers. So all of that was a recipe for increased prices. And then coupled with all of that, we also had an increase in people moving to the Treasure Valley because people were now able to work from home given the whole COVID pandemic. So all of this put together is what led to this increase in prices that we've seen over the past several years. But there is some good news coming in all of this. Since August of this year, the median price has leveled off. In July, the median was $540,000. It dropped down to $530,000 in August, and since then it's hovered at around that price for the past several months. So we're definitely in a different market today than we were 7 months ago. We've definitely seen a lot more houses stay on the market for longer. This past month, we saw an increase in inventory of 158% as compared to last year. Interest rates are going back up, and so I think what that is going to lead to is a more balanced market. Now, if you're coming from a stronger market like California, Washington, or Oregon, you won't have as difficult of a time entering into the Boise housing market. What's most difficult though, and I think this is the worst thing about living here in Boise, is if you are trying to enter into the housing market from scratch. If you're a first-time home buyer, just out of college, trying to buy a house, it's gonna be difficult. But let me finish with a piece of good news. Idaho does have a number of programs for first-time home buyers. Programs like Idaho Housing or the Federal Housing Administration make it easier for buyers who are entering into the market to overcome that big hurdle of getting the down payment. A lot of times you can get into a house with just 3% down. There's even programs for 0 money down. If you're interested in hearing about what programs are available, I actually made a video with a lender not very long ago, and so you can check out this video right here.